This video is for entertainment purposes only.
Of today's video is a disease that even to this day is not properly understood. It is a disease that robs a patient of movement, of control of their own body, and can leave them in a catatonic state for decades, all whilst fully aware of the long passage of time. It is thought that some 500,000 people were affected during the pandemic. The subject of today's video is a disease that even to this day is not properly understood. It is a disease that robs a patient of movement, of control of their own body, and can leave them in a catatonic state for decades, all whilst fully aware of the long passage of time. It is thought that some 500,000 people were affected during the pandemic, killing around a third and leaving the rest permanently changed. Sleeping sickness struck during the early 20th century before seemingly disappearing. In today's video, we will cover the symptoms of sleeping sickness, what is understood about the disease, and its potential impact on world history. Sleeping sickness, or encephalitis lethargica, or EL for short, is a rare form of encephalitis, or swelling of the brain. The disease affects the part of the brain responsible for the production of dopamine and therefore vital for the control part of the nervous system. EL was first identified by Konstantin Alexander von Economo, an Austrian physicist and neurologist. He identified a novel disease amongst patients initially thought to be suffering with meningitis or delirium. The symptoms are wide-reaching and dependent on the type 1 is infected with. The most common symptoms are sleep disorders and Parkinsonism with involuntary movements that come with such a condition. The symptoms of EL made diagnosis difficult, with common ailments such as headaches, lethargy, and fever present in the early stages of the disease. This widespread and varied number of symptoms in a wide degree of severity proved difficult to comprehend the disease. Von Economo described 3 clinical forms of encephalitis lethargica with particular symptoms. For example, the hyperkinetic form will present symptoms such as visual hallucination, mania, and muscle jerks. This new disease was first noticed in 1916 in Vienna, but examples in France, the United Kingdom, and the United States soon followed. This disease tended to have 3 stages, the first being sleep disorders, and the second being uncontrollable eye movements. This was then followed by a period of recovery where all seemed well. What would then strike some years later would be the coma, respiratory failure, or damage to the brain caused by the inflammation. The patient's extremities would become incredibly weak or rigid, requiring another person to assist with movement. Another notable symptom was that the patient was left with an expressionless, mask-like face, unable to control their facial muscles. Some patients would experience an oculogenic crisis, that being when their eyes uncontrollably roll to the back of the head, and this could last hours at a time. Some patients experienced drastic changes in their mood or persona, altered by the damage caused by the inflammation of the brain. Patients would be quick to anger, often losing part of who they were prior. The sleeping disorders would leave the patient asleep for weeks at a time. Whilst they could be easily awoken, they would fall straight back asleep. Some would have an inversion to the day-night cycle, whilst some would experience severe insomnia. In some cases, the sleep would become a coma, one many would never awaken from. Many were left in sleep-like states for decades, with no cure or treatment available. Many were left to the care of specialized hospitals, rows of beds of the sleeping unable to be awakened. What is unbelievably terrifying is that some of those in such care hospitals were in fact conscious and aware of the passage of time, but trapped inside their unresponsive bodies. By the 1920s, these delayed cases of Parkinsonism began to become more apparent. Unlike other Parkinsonism conditions, it appeared to affect younger people more than older, usually people aged between 10 and 45. As quickly as the disease appeared, so too did it disappear. There is no doubt that encephalitis lethargica is one of the more disturbing and interesting diseases of the 20th century, overshadowed by the millions dead at the hands of the Spanish flu. An enigma to this day, thankfully rare but nevertheless a nightmare. To be trapped inside one's own body, to lose control of bodily functions, is a horror that one cannot comprehend. One extra thing to mention is that whilst editing this video, we found images and a report of someone who suffered with EL. This patient pulled out their own eyeballs. There are images of a doctor holding her head still, whilst the camera shows the empty sockets. And in the next shot, 2 eyes with optic nerves still attached. This led me to come to the opinion that EL is the most terrifying disease in history. We can only hope that such a terrifying disease doesn't return anytime soon.
This has been a Pinguinati production. If you'd like to support the channel, links are in the description.